Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. Well, I did it again. I bought another vintage watch. I love vintage watches, and I'm always sort of on the look for a vintage watch that sort of ticks some boxes for me. That tends to be a little bit bigger than that sort of vintage size and have a certain look that I want and be at a price that I can afford. I've even made a video about buying affordable vintage watches, and I still stand by everything I say in that watch video. But I seem to have been still on the hunt for maybe the perfect vintage watch, or perhaps I'm just sort of cycling through them like I do with some other watches. Just because it's vintage doesn't mean I need to hold on to it forever. And that's what I've done. I've bought another watch. The reason I've bought this one is because it really reminds me of a certain look of vintage watch that I really like. And I'll stick some photos up here. Now, it doesn't look exactly like these watches, but for the last couple of years, every time I see a watch that looks like this, I think, wow, that's really cool. Then when I go on the search for those sort of watches, they're well outside my price range. So I'm not going to spend that much on them. I'm an affordable watch guy with the occasional slightly less affordable watch, but to be able to spend that much money on a vintage watch is certainly not in my sort of budget, certainly not anytime soon. So I found this vintage watch that sort of had that sort of look and feel to it, had a fairly big case diameter in regards to a vintage watch, and I thought, wow, perfect, I can also afford it. So I ordered it, and I was really looking forward to it arriving. But that's when there came a bit of an issue. When it arrived, it looked like this. Now, this is not ideal, as you can imagine, and it puts me in a bit of a weird spot. Firstly, I was not expecting this watch to work perfectly. I was okay with that. This is an affordable vintage watch. I can live with it not working perfectly, but I need it to be together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of a journey with it, and I'm going to sort of record this as the journey occurs, and I'm sort of going to put the video together, and then at the end, when it's all resolved, when it's all put together, I'll sort of release this video. So at this point, I've got this watch in pieces. I've contacted the guy who sold it to me, and I'm now discussing how we go about resolving this issue. And I'm considering taking it to my watchmaker to see how much it will cost to put together, but possibly even how much it would cost to put together and service. So I'm going to flip the camera around now, and I'm going to show you this watch in the current state that it is. And then as the video goes on, it will flick forward in time, and I'll start talking to you about what happened next. I'm looking forward to knowing what happens next because I don't quite know at this stage. But let's flip the camera around and let's see what this watch looks like right now. So as you can see, the watch came in pieces and not exactly what I was hoping for. It probably wasn't packaged well enough, and being an older watch, probably the seals and everything weren't very good anyway. Thankfully, I have to say, I am hoping that nothing is damaged because the dial of the watch and the second hand that you can see there that's come off all look intact. I have taken the opportunity to clean the case. So the case is actually looking a little bit cleaner and nicer now. You can see it's sort of a two-tone. Those there, you can see for the pushes that are going to be in there. It's a bit of a nice, interesting case design to it. See, with a bit of a ridge going along there. A two-tone sort of silver and like a copper color. So that's kind of very cool. And very gently, I don't want to damage this whatsoever, but let me show you this dial, because this is why I bought the watch. This awesome, amazing sort of vintage looking dial. Absolutely awesome. And the movement in the back, yeah, it looks cool. So what's the plan? Well, I've got a couple of options. I have contacted the seller from eBay. He is on board. I think he's going to help with a partial refund to help rectify this situation. And I'm going to do one of two things. I am going to take this to my local watchmaker today and firstly get a quote of just how much to just put this back together in a manner that it is going to be nice and secure, so that I can just enjoy it and own it, which was what I was sort of planning in the first place. I wasn't planning to spend a lot of money on this. I just wanted to have a cool vintage watch, even if it didn't work perfectly. But whilst I'm there, I do particularly like it, so I may get a quote on how much to put it back together, as well as service and get it actually up and running again. And depending on how much that is, and I'm expecting it not to be particularly cheap, maybe that's what I'll do. So I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to go take this to the watchmaker, and you'll get to see what happens next. It's going to take a little bit longer for me to figure out what I'm going to do. So that portion of the video that you just watched was filmed about 4 to 5 months ago. And since then, there has been a bit that's happened with this watch, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about right now. So the first thing I did is I went to my local watchmaker. I went to my local watchmaker for 2 reasons, and that was to get 2 separate quotes. I got a quote from them just to put the watch back together so it would be secure and I could be happy and confident that I could have it on wrist or be handling it without it further falling apart. But I got a second quote for the thing to be actually fully serviced and put back together. I then took that first quote, just about putting it back together, sent a copy through to the person who sold it to me on eBay, and they instantly partially refunded me the amount that was on that quote, which I am so thankful for. I know they're not going to be watching this video, but if they happen to ever watch this video, thank you so much for doing that. I really do appreciate it. But then I was in a position where I think I had 4 different options available to me. Firstly, I could just sort of own it as is and just have it in pieces. For me, that wasn't really an option, but it was something that I could have done, but I did not do. The second option that I had available to me now is to be able to use this watch perhaps as a bit of a project. Play with it, play with the movement, play with putting it back together, sort of use it as a bit of a tool to learn a bit more about watches. But I did not want to do it with this particular one. I'm sure I'll be doing that with some watches in the future, but this one, there's something about it that I really like. So I didn't really want to do anything that might mess it up. So that option, out the window, I didn't do that either. Next option was just to have it put back together, or the following option was to actually spend some more money out of my own pocket and get this thing put back into proper servicing on wrist sort of working order. And let's flip the camera around now. Let me show you this watch and let me show you what I ended up doing with it. So what did I end up doing with this watch? Did I just get it put back together or did I get it fully serviced? Well, you're probably going to have guessed this. I had it fully serviced. I invested the extra little bit of money and I got this thing fully worked over. So now it works perfectly. It's holding an absolutely amazing time. And the reason I decided to do that is because I really, really like the look of this watch. There's something about it that really stands out to me. And I have to admit, since I've had it back from the watchmaker, I've actually been wearing this one a lot. I've been really enjoying it on wrist. It has a really interesting mix of sort of textures and sort of look on the dial with that sort of circular pattern and that telemeter or whatever it's called. I like the sort of colors. Has the 2 pushes, which is quite interesting. And if you're asking what does those pushes do, well, if you click one of them, it actually hacks the movement. It stops the second hand again, hit it back again, and yeah, it moves on. So this is probably an early version of trying to figure out how to hack a movement on a watch. Now there are some interesting colors here. You got a bit of brass on that sort of outer bezel and on the crown there, like a brass sort of look on the hands and the numbers that are sort of applied, which is very cool. Whereas the rest of it is stainless steel. On the back here, it's fairly simple. You can see it has been banged up a little bit. It does say it's anti-magnetic, which I think is very cool, and it's Swiss made. Now, if you notice and notice the strap that it's on, this is actually off my escapement time. This is just temporary. I think it actually looks quite good on it. This dark brown, it really sort of suits this one more vintage look, but I've got another strap specifically coming for this one. But for the moment, I'm just borrowed this one off my escapement time. I think it suits the watch quite well, and actually has been looking quite good on this particular watch. And let's finish off to see what this thing looks like on my wrist, because I think it looks absolutely fantastic. And one of the things I do like about it, not just the look of it, not just the materials used, not just these pushes here, not just what it actually can do, is it's a little bit big for a vintage watch. Not too big for me by any means, but it's a slightly bigger watch for this sort of era. So it's nice, and I think it looks really, really cool on wrist. Being a manual wind only, it's nice and thin as well, so it really fits down on wrist as well. And you can see those lugs really curve around. Just such a really, really cool watch to own. It's one that's going to be in my collection long term, which was the other reason why I decided to invest some more money. I've owned lots of different vintage watches and they've sort of come and gone in and out of my collection, and I've sort of known that they would, which is why I haven't invested more or extra money. This one, it sat in my my watch box for a while in pieces, and I was thinking, do I want to spend more money on it? And I just really, really love the look of it. I think it just looks really, really cool. So I decided, yes, let's spend some more money, because I'm fairly convinced that this one's going to be in my collection long term. And since it's going to be in my collection long term, and I actually want to wear it, well, let's spend the extra cash. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on this journey with me, which has been over quite a long period of time filming this particular episode. So thanks very much. Thanks for watching, and I do hope to see you in the next video.